ingratiate himself with them for business, personal, political, and financial gain, as well as to obtain potential blackmail information. It's coming from John Doe number one. And there's another one I'll read out in a bit, which shows Epstein potentially using that information to blackmail world leaders, which we were discussing earlier. I think this is by far the biggest revelation that I've seen. I want to get Name Redacted back up. He's been covering this as well in the back channels to get his thoughts. We've had some more descriptive things about how, what exactly happened behind the curtains and what Epstein and Maxwell and others did with the girls. So Mr. Rizzo, for example, testified that he watched Maxwell direct a room of underage girls to kiss, dance, and touch one another in a sexual way for Epstein to watch. For defendant and Epstein, for Maxwell and Epstein to watch. Another witness, which is Joanna Sjoberg, testified that defendant recruited her from her school campus. Defendant, I think here's Maxwell. Recruited her from her school campus. From her school campus to have sex with Epstein with lies about about being her personal assistant. Two other witnesses, one was underage victim redacted, and the other, the police detective who ultimately ended up investigating Epstein, gave testimony about how Epstein used other women to recruit minors to have sex with him. Most recently, a witness testified that the defendant would call him and ask him to bring over young girls that she would provide to Epstein. So it continues on how that happened, how they managed to convince girls to come to Epstein's house. Name, you're there. Can you hear me? While waiting for Name to come on.
I don't think he's up there.
Oh, it shows him as speaker for me. There's another one here. Prince Andrew being in an orgy, quote, in an orgy with numerous underage girls. Let me read that section as well. Perhaps even more important to her role in Epstein's sexual abuse ring, Maxwell had direct connections to other powerful individuals with whom she would connect Epstein. For instance, one such... By the way, it's just surprising how Maxwell is still alive when Epstein and Brunel are both gone. For instance, one such powerful individual Epstein forced Jane Doe 3 to have sex relations with was a member of the British royal family, Prince Andrew. Jane Doe number 3 was forced to have sexual relations with this prince when she was a minor in 3 separate geographical locations. In London, in Maxwell's apartment, in New York, and on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And that's where the orgy with numerous other underage girls happened. Epstein instructed Jane Doe number 3 that she was to give the prince whatever he demanded and required Jane Doe 3 to report back to him on the details of the sexual abuse. Maxwell facilitated Prince Andrew's acts of sexual abuse by acting as a madame for Epstein, thereby assisting in intentionally trafficking Jane Doe 3 and numerous other young girls for sexual purposes. Just reading the rest of it here. Okay, we talked about the immunity. Maxwell was another person in Epstein's inner circle and co-conspirator in Epstein's sexual abuse. She was someone who consequently also appreciated the immunity granted by the NPA for the crimes she committed in Florida. In addition to participating in the sexual abuse of Jane Doe number 3 and others, Maxwell also took numerous sexually explicit pictures of underage girls involved in sexual activities, including Jane Doe 3. He shared these photographs, which constituted child pornography under applicable federal laws, with Epstein. The government is apparently aware and in certain instances possesses some of these photographs, which I think, Ryan, you pointed out earlier. So see that these are some of the highlights. Name, are you there now? I'm not sure. I can
I'm
see
here.
Yeah,
What's up?
I've read some of the highlights that I've seen in the latest drops. I want to get your thoughts on everything we've seen.
I think a lot of it is, we're seeing some new names, right? But a lot of it has been names that, and specifically details that we probably didn't know about before, but this isn't my area of expertise, so...
There's another one here. I've got another one here. Rodriguez stated once the masseuses would arrive, that's from the latest drop of 111 pages. Ryan, I think you posted this. I think you're about to tweet it. Rodriguez stated that once the masseuses would arrive, he would
just
allow
to be clear, Rodriguez is the house manager.
Is the house manager, not Maxwell, the Epstein's house, correct?
Yes, Epstein's house. He's essentially the right hand for Epstein.
Okay. Rodriguez stated once the masseuses would arrive, so that's, I'm assuming, the underage girls, he would allow them entry. It's good to post this one out, Ryan. He would allow them entry into the kitchen area and offer them something to drink or eat. They would then be encountered by either Sarah or Epstein. Sarah is who again?
Sarah Callan is the one they're talking about there. So she's a personal assistant fixer for the actual arranging.
Oh,
Massages. She arranges massages, meetings. She arranges the client to see the girl they've got ready.
She's also labeled as a co-conspirator in one of the documents.
She is that.
So the question I asked earlier, and Charles, you're back if you want to expand on that. I assume
I'll just finish. I'll just finish quickly this one name, and I'll give you the mic to ask the question right after. Just I'm going to read that part they just came out. They would be taken upstairs to provide the massage. I asked Rodriguez if any of the masseuses appeared young in age. He advised that he didn't ask their ages, but felt they were very young. Rodriguez stated they ate like his own daughter, who was in high school. Rodriguez stated they would eat tons of cereal and drink milk all the time. I don't know why that particular one hits me.
But remember,
he
used to hire a lot of women that looked young, so that he could, who are overage, so that he could then blackmail people after the fact. So what he would do is he would get them. So this is a common technique that comes from the Okhrana, which were the Jewish, basically the secret police of the Tsar back in the day. And so what you would do is you would introduce somebody to some woman, and they would like flirt or whatever, maybe drink alcohol, have sex. And then what you would then say is, oh, remember that woman you had sex with the other day, who you thought was 20, 21. It turns out that she was 15, 16. And so then what they do is they record your reaction to that and then try to use your reaction as a way of blackmailing you as well.
Jesus.
That's typically how it works. That's like how the operation works.
Sorry, go ahead, Charles. No, someone actually told me today, someone I really like, and I don't know if he was being humorous or not. He's just joking. I think he seemed pretty serious. He's not a person that would joke. He goes to me because he was a bit worried. Every time I do a big space on like the mutiny or Gaza, whatever it is, and now this, he starts getting worried. He's like, Mario, if a pretty girl ever comes to you, just completely ignore her. And I'm like, man, I can't do that. But obviously now I understand why he's saying that. Obviously, it's a common technique, Charles. Well, now that you say this, I'm avoiding any female that ever speaks to me.
Mario, there's something my father told me, is that there's nothing more dangerous than a pretty face.
Yep. Rodriguez stated they ate like his own daughter, who was in high, but you can tell when someone's too young. Like it's just hard to believe that a 15-year-old will look like a 21-year-old, and 21 is still sick.
I mean, have you been to Florida, my friend? I mean, I don't know. Things are complicated there.
Yeah, but it's still not yeah. All right, so Rodriguez stated they would eat tons of cereal and drink milk all the time. Rodriguez stated the girls that would come appeared to be too young to be masseuses. He stated one time under Epstein's direction, he delivered a dozen roses to blank for one of the girls that came to provide a massage. He knew the girls were still in high school and were of high school age. He asked Rodriguez about the massages. He felt there was a lot more going on than just massages. He would clean Mr. Epstein's bedroom after the alleged massage and would discover massager vibrators and sex toys scattered on the floor. He also said he would wipe down the vibrator and sex toys and put them away in an armoire, which is a wardrobe. He described the armoire as a small wood armoire wardrobe, which was on the wall close to Epstein's bed. Ryan, did you post that one out yet for anyone that wants to read it?
Yep, just posted.
Perfect. Right, so that's one here that just came out. We've got an email from Maxwell's PR guy emails her about her mother telling police about Maxwell's past drug abuse, witchcraft, many kids living on one of their properties, and animal sacrifices. What? Someone mentioned this in the space earlier. I thought they were trolling.
No. So this is trying to discredit the girl who was accusing Epstein. If my understanding was that these were articles that were like.
So Maxwell's PR guy emails her about her mother, or emails her.
Yeah, it's emailing Maxwell about the victim's mother.
Maxwell, yeah. Ghislaine, some helpful leakage. In today's Daily Mail print edition on web, a mom told a detective about her daughter's past drug abuse and also how many kids in the Royal Palm Beach are involved in drugs, witchcraft, and animal sacrifice, according to a confidential report. So they're trying to discredit the witnesses, which makes it tricky. Like, when is information genuinely important to question the credibility of a witness, and when is it just efforts trying to discredit a witness? Like, how do you tell the difference, John?
Well, a witness is never going to be completely credible. They're giving their account of their story, and everybody knows humans are fallible. So that's what the prosecution do as well. They and the defense, they pick away a statement, don't they? People that's the best way to make a case fall apart. And it's hard to know about credibility because we weren't there at the time. We've got to look at what they say and then line that up with other evidence. So with the guy you're talking about now, I can tell you one of the names that are going to come out of this eventually in the next however many days, 19 days or so, is another man that this guy mentioned, who's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who used to go around the Palm Beach house, and this housekeeper mentioned his name already. So we know a lot about trauma makes you change your money, or humans are a range of things. We're not all the same. Not all of these stories are not going to be 100% innocent and 100% guilty, except for Maxwell and Epstein, who are pretty much 100% guilty, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's a few other names other than Maxwell and Epstein that we could maybe get close to that 100%. We've got another one here from Haley Robson about the recruitment. Let me read that one out. It's interesting. I've just pointed out for you, Ryan. There's a lot there. Jesus.
Mario, I posted the PR one, by the way, just a heads up. I posted
I posted it. I posted it, man. So you got to delete yours.
Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So let me go through it. Who had taken Epstein's house to provide massages. Blank further stated that she had been to the house approximately 4 to 5 times in the past year. She accompanied Robson with. All right, so can you remind us who Robson is, please, Jonathan and Johnny? And I appreciate you staying with us and giving us.
Yeah, that's all right. She's one of the key recruiters. It's very interesting, her backstory. She gets recruited. They try and get her to be someone who's going to give him, a topless one-hand shandy or whatever when she's in school, a schoolgirl, and she doesn't like that idea, but she responds well to the, do you want to go and recruit other girls? And each time you recruit a girl, we'll give you $200 or something along those lines. And then she boasted about it when she got arrested eventually, or when the whole thing got outed. She said, well, yeah, of course, I was making money. I was, I could, and she saw herself as a pimp in a sense, because she didn't realize the damage that was going to come later. She was just a young girl as well.
Okay. She accompanied Robson, the 14-year-old victim, with the 14-year-old. She accompanied Robson with blank, 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 the 14-year-old victim, and blank, blank. Each time the girls were taken over, they were previously told they would have to provide a massage, possibly naked. It was also told that should Epstein require them to do anything extra, and they were not comfortable, just to tell him and he would stop. Stated Robson received $200, which is such a small amount considering what they're doing. Said Robson could receive $200 for each girl she brought over to massage Epstein. We've talked about her before, I remember, and about that $200 figure. When I asked which girl appeared to be the youngest, she replied the victim. As she stated, she was 15 years old at the most. She looked really young. Further stated each time she went to the house, she sat in the kitchen and waited with Robson until the massage was over. She further stated that the cook would make lunch or a snack for them as they waited. I asked her if there was anything that caught her attention within the home. Blank stated there were a lot of naked girls and photographs throughout the house. The interview was concluded and the tape was turned into evidence.
Can I say something here just very quickly? Is that this shows how nuanced this grooming operation was. They would take these girls in and they would look at the reaction that the girls had to the abuse or to the potential abuse, the thought of abuse, and then they would decide on that girl's role dependent on their reaction. So it wasn't just simply get them in, brainwash them, do this. They would get them in, and only the best would go on the Lolita Express. Only the best would be central to the operation. The other ones we used for Jeffrey.
Oh, so I've got another one here that Nick posted in the group. There's a lot of stuff you guys are posting from this drop. On November 8, 2005, I made telephone contact with blank W/F. Do you know what that stands for, Nick?
Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair.
No, it's W/F. Anyway, W/F blank at her residence. Blank responded to the police station for an interview reference and ongoing investigation. At approximately 2:30 p.m., she arrived at the Palm Beach police station and was brought to the interview room for the interview. The door was closed for privacy, and she was told that I appreciated her cooperation in this case. During a sworn tape testament, Blank stated she had met Epstein approximately 1 year ago. She was approached by a subject known to her as Blank. Blank had asked her if she wanted to make money providing massages to Epstein. Blank had heard that several girls from blank blank were doing this and had introduced her and making money. She agreed and was taken to the house by blank blank had taken the house by blank. Blank had introduced her to Sarah and Epstein and brought her upstairs to a master bedroom and master bathroom where a massage table was prepared and proper oils were taken. Blank left the room and waited downstairs for Blank. Blank stated Epstein entered the room wearing a towel and she provided a massage wearing only her thong panties. Blank advised Epstein had masturbated every time she provided a massage. She stated Epstein continued to masturbate until he climaxed. Once that occurred, the massage was over. She felt the whole situation was weird, but she advised she was paid $200 for providing the massage. She also stated Blank received $200 for bringing Blank to Epstein. Blank stated she had gone a total of 15 times to his residence to provide a massage, and things had escalated from just providing a massage. Epstein began touching her on the buttocks and grabbed her closer to him as he masturbated. Epstein also grabbed her breasts and fondled her breasts with his hands as she provided the massage. Blank stated on one occasion he offered extra monies to have vaginal intercourse. She stated this all occurred on the massage table. Blank stated Epstein penetrated her vagina with his penis and began having intercourse with her until he reached the point of climax. Epstein removed his penis from her vagina and climaxed on the massage table. Sorry, guys. Blank received $350 for the massage. I asked her if she had any formal training providing massages. Blank stated she did not. So again, just more examples, one after the other, and Ryan will be posting them out for anyone that wants to read them. This example after example of the crimes that were taking place with underage girls, or essentially Epstein having sex with underage girls. We've got more stuff on Rodriguez. So it's similar to. I'm just going through it now. Nick, what are your thoughts? I see Nick saying many of the narratives are from 2005. Your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah. So I mean, so some of the stuff is a repeat from yesterday, just almost some of it verbatim. But going back to these incident reports, these police reports, it seems concerning to me, and it's the same for the audience here. Why were these? I mean, it doesn't seem like these were, investigated very thoroughly. I mean, you had all of these girls coming out, under oath, in sworn statements, in graphic detail, talking about everything that happened in Epstein's house, and so many of those stories matched up with each other. Yet it seems like they were just totally forgotten. And so I'd be interested, if David or Name, if you wanted to jump in and just kind of try to give me some sort of an idea of, does it look like this stuff was just brushed under the rug?
Well, I don't know about that, but the way I look at it is, okay, so sex is a big thing being focused on here, but the bigger issue is the blackmail and the sort of the stature of the people involved in this. And the reason it's good that it's being made available to the public, so people that are interested can get a glimpse of how an operation like this is being run. This was a big one, and Epstein is obviously the poster boy of this one, but this isn't the only one. These operations are going around the entire world. They're happening today. But it's about blackmail. It's about, blackmailing politicians, people in power, gaining favor, votes, whatever it may be. So when you're confused about why a politician votes for XYZ, I mean, you look at Senator Menendez. I don't know if there was sex involved in that, but this is just the way things work, unfortunately. And this is a good insight into how they run their operations. A lot of it is the honeypotting and sex blackmail and whatnot. I don't know. I'd really like to see the names that are redacted. I think we have some ideas, but that's...
And are they going to end up coming out at some point?
I don't know, because you got to understand, like, there are, I don't know who's in power right now that's, listed in there. I don't think anyone that's currently like a president or a PM, but it gets to a point, and this is why I think that they gave Epstein this plea deal in 2008. And again, I just preface, I'm not an expert on the Epstein situation, but just my idea here is he got a plea deal because of the extent of blackmail he had on people in power, that it was so extensive it became a national security risk. So you sometimes with all these crimes, it's hard to just blow it open because you take so many people down.
And also they wanted what his skill set. Like, I mean, this is the aspect of it that's not often talked about. But Epstein was unusually charming and debonair and able to get people to do things they didn't want to do. And I remember when I worked for Dershowitz and we were representing him, it didn't seem like this guy had a care in the world. Like, he would ask me about my mother, he would ask me how I was doing in school, and he was facing like very serious charges. And he just seemed like he did not give a fuck, you know? And I've often thought about that, like the level of pathological like narcissism, or like the level of like certainty in your cause and its righteousness. I mean, we had people that we represented for Dershowitz that were like accused of like relatively minor infractions, and they would call constantly, and they were worried and anxious and all of that. And Epstein just did not seem fazed by it at all. And
Yeah.
I have often wondered about that. Like, maybe that's how you become one of these, like, you know, crazy operative types. Like, you're just not fazed or rattled by anything. You know, maybe that's how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, David, how much you jump in?
I just wanted to like mention a couple of things. Number one, you know, Epstein. I think that there's ample evidence that Epstein kind of like inherited this role. Like, he didn't like create the idea. When you go back, you can look at
For what it's worth.
Yeah,
for what it's worth, like, I interacted with Ghislaine Maxwell too, and it seemed like the whole time she was in charge.
Right. That's another point that actually Whitney and Johnny have brought up in their work. Is, you know, Isabel Maxwell, for example, Ghislaine's sister, who's on the WEF, also very involved in Silicon Valley and technology stacks and all of that kind of stuff. But I also wanted to mention, for example, we had Operation Midnight Climax, which was declassified, where in both the East and West Coast, the FBI had these kind of brothels with one-way mirrors, where they could, you know, film people, and some of the prostitutes were underage in that operation. And, you know, I don't know if there's any like one particular document, but we do know that there was something called Operation Underworld, which was during World War II, where the United States government basically enlisted the FBI they enlisted the mafia for help guarding the ports in New York, and also for gathering intelligence in Sicily. This was done with Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano. And it's after this point that, you know, there's reports of the mafia blackmailing J. Edgar Hoover, but there's also things like Operation Midnight Climax, which the U.S. government begins engaging in. So it clearly seems to be that this is a mafia tactic, I guess you could say, that has been adopted by these intelligence agencies, both foreign and domestic.
Okay, so just to be clear, how do you even believe that he got started in this? You know, like starting an operation like this, was he already working for some sort of intelligence agency? Would that
can I answer this one? Because this one, I think I got.
Yeah.
You know, he gets recruited. In these when you run in these circles, you don't only get recruited once; you get recruited multiple times at loads of different levels to get to the point of Jeffrey Epstein, and he become that description of him as not having a care in the world is completely accurate when you hear Relentless Pursuit and Bradley Edwards meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in Boca Raton Starbucks for the last 8 years before Epstein's death. They're having these conversations, and they just seem illusory. They're not in the real world. He seemed really calm, and that worked out well for him. And he ran in the circles in New York, and he was running in operations like Iran Contra and the October Surprise, which was set up by this New York elite, and that led on to him going into a new stage. He had managed to get into money and banking and use all of the whatever he earned from these operations that he was doing, make a load of money, and then he gets adopted by Wexler, who comes into the New York scene. In about 1986, 1987, Wexler basically says, okay, I'm going to relocate over here, and goes into New York and helps lift Jeffrey Epstein and starts funding him more. By 1989, I think that's about when he's first meeting Maxwell. Some people say it's possibly before, and that's when everything just breaks loose for him. It's an evolution of him over time, and I think he was in and out of loads of allegiances during that time, and because he was a happy-go-lucky fella and everything was going his way. There's loads of rumors to how he lived his life once upon a time, but we know how he wanted to live his life by how he lived his life from about 1991, 1992 onwards. And we get to see a lot of this within this documentation. And one other thing I'd say very quickly, I kind of agree and disagree in loads of different parts. That description of abuse you just read out, when it is not about blackmail. I'll be the first to say that there was loads of blackmail going on, etc. But that was about a paedophile who was in a position of power and you could get away with abusing children. That bit was because that was girls who came over to give Jeffrey Epstein a massage. No one else. They were going into the room. Now, some of the stories are horrifying. The girls go into the room and they're told what to do, and they realize they don't want to do it. And they turn around and Ghislaine Maxwell's standing at the door and she won't let you out. So there was a routine to this to get the girls to go into this situation where they're going to then start giving him masturbating Jeffrey Epstein on the massage table, and then that will lead to something else. A lot of girls didn't want to do that and they were forced into it. That wasn't about sex compromise. It wasn't necessarily about training those girls, but it was about breaking lots of different girls so you could pick the ones that were the best. And that's what they were doing with a lot of the girls. You can't just train any old girl you find on the street, and most of these girls come from a very poor area of Palm Beach and were easy to take advantage of. You can't just train any of them up and then just put them out to be a secret agent, and it works like that. It does not. You have to go through loads of girls who are not named, who don't have a voice, who probably haven't been involved in any of the cases, and get left behind and forgotten. The majority of them were abused by Jeffrey Epstein, but he was finding the cream of the crop to use for intelligence operations.
Yeah, so something else interesting in the documents here is that the plaintiff, Dufresne, claims that she was forced to have sex with a large hotel chain operator, which, it had been rumored already that Tom Pritzker was, involved in this, and that large hotel chain would have been Hyatt. And this, again, is the cousin of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. And it just so happens that the senator that was adamantly trying to block these documents was Dick Durbin, who is the senator from Illinois, of which J.B. Pritzker is the governor of. I mean, do you think this stuff is running that deep to the point where somebody like Dick Durbin knew that these people were going to end up being implicated? And that's why he was so adamantly on Capitol Hill. I actually confronted him and asked him why he was trying to block the release of these documents while I was up there on Capitol Hill. And he just, he shut everybody out. He shut Fox News out, wouldn't talk to anybody about it. Does it run that deep?
The necessity to infiltrate government and infiltrate these people, it all depended on what they needed done. So they wouldn't just look for senators and for the kings, because Epstein was very much a kingmaker, and he would look for the future presidents, future vice presidents, supporting Lieberman, supporting Richardson when he thought he might become vice president, supporting others like Kerry as well financially, and Chuck Schumer, who was an early candidate for potential presidents. But they also again, like the victims, they cover a range of things. They need something done in Illinois or Ohio or Zorro Ranch territory down in New Mexico. They'll influence the people, the officials round there, who then they will be then focusing their operation, and that's all it is. They're not sporadic, otherwise they'd never get anything done. They have to have focused operation. So if they wanted him to do something for some reason, that's what they're going to do. They're going to focus.
Okay, yeah. So, David, I know there were things brought up about Les Wexner, right? Him being one of the largest backers of Jeffrey Epstein, but he's mentioned, very few times in these documents, and it doesn't seem to be, accused of doing much. I mean, has there ever been like an investigation into Les Wexner and his involvement in any of Jeffrey Epstein's activities? Because while he was bankrolling him, clearly, he doesn't seem to be involved in this case at all.
Well, you got to remember that this is just one case with one victim, and there are multiple victims, multiple cases. So this is just a very small kind of narrow thing, and it's not indicative of the entire story, right? So there's going to be other testimony, other documents. Again, I'm not sure. I think Maria Farmer, but I don't know. I heard something about one of the witnesses being a little shaky. So I don't know who to believe a lot of the time, but for sure, there's a lot there. I'm actually kind of cracking open Whitney's book to see if I can get some footnotes for you here.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of information that I'm looking up right now. I've sent an article, but in the meantime, cancel this. I'll let you jump in.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. I'm Ian, by the way, guys, if you don't know my name. Appreciate the space. I've been looking at one of the other documents that just came out that's relative to one of the police officers that first investigated it. Have you guys discussed Joseph Ricari yet at all?
I don't believe so. What was his role? I mean, he was a police officer, but...
Yeah, so he came on my radar earlier today when I was looking through the original batch of documents, just because he comes up. He struck me immediately in the original testimony as being, he's one of the Palm Beach police officers that initially investigated the.
Hey, Ian, can you fix your mic a little bit?
Yeah,
It sounds, I don't even know how to describe it, like a little scratchy and far away.
Is that any better?
That is beautiful. Go ahead.
So Joseph Ricari was the Palm Beach detective that first started investigating the whole situation, like when the first girl came to the police in the very beginning. And I noticed immediately in the documents that were released yesterday that the way he was described in the testimony made it seem like he was, because let's remember that Epstein had contacts in the Palm Beach police office in his black book of contacts. So it immediately struck me that the way he was described in the testimony made him feel like he was truly getting to the bottom of it. So I just made a note earlier today, and then I was just looking through the documents that came out just now, like right now, and one of them, it is document number 1325, attachment number 11, is actually his deposition when he was interviewed in 2016, I believe. And there's nothing new in his deposition. Yeah, it was June 21st, 2016. There's nothing new in his deposition. They're just asking him how he went about investigating the girl's claims, and sort of how he says that he interviewed up to 30 mostly all underage girls. And he said that only one of them had prior massage experience. But then it got me curious, just like where he's at and what his role is in all this. And I looked him up, and he died mysteriously. So he gave his deposition in 2016 after he had left the Palm Beach police for a couple of years and was working at a brewery, presumably because he hated his life for how shitty that job must have been, is my guess. And then he died at age 50 of just a mysterious illness in 2018, 2 years later, which, is a cute pattern in the way these things go. So I was just curious if any of you guys have any other insight about Joseph Ricari or the original police investigation, or why he might have died.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about this, and I don't know anybody that on
Yeah,
stage
yeah.
if you have any information on that. Definitely
I
jump
know
in.
that. Yeah, I know that he died a bit mysteriously. It looks like it could be a disease that's like been given to him. You could say.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It was like an unnamed
he
disease
was
of
a.
just
I
it
gotta
hit them
say,
quick.
he was one of the humans I come in my research. He's one of the humans I come across who I was like, what a hero. There was two
Yeah.
heroes. When someone was saying earlier, why didn't anybody do anything for so long? Well, there was two heroes. There was a mother who wouldn't say no in about 2000 and I don't know when it was, about 2003, 2004. I think 2004 she made the complaint and she gave them hell. The police were not going to get away without investigating this. That is one hero there. And then the policeman who investigated was relentless and wouldn't let it go. That man there, who of course ends in a terrible way, and it's just like those are the two heroes that I think of this case.
Mm-hmm. And so, just to kind of finish my thought here, thanks for giving that input, because that's definitely how he came across in my initial read. And so the question that's kind of circling in my mind that we don't have an answer to, but I'd be curious for just as we all go back out and keep looking, is that if Joseph or Carey did his investigations back, in the much earlier 2000s, and then he left the police department years later and worked at a brewery for a while and gave his deposition in 2016, it's kind of curious and weird that he died 2 years after that deposition, but you know in the year leading into Epstein being actually arrested. um it just makes me wonder if there was more to his story or more that he knew, or like, why go out of your way to suspiciously kill a very important police officer or ex-police officer in this investigation if he doesn't have anything new to offer, because he had already obviously investigated and documented so much. That's sticking out to me in a weird way. So